Welcome back, options traders. Well, another good topic for our group today, the misunderstood power of and. What's this all about? Well, there's a lot of different morals we could take from this video, but the one that I was really focusing on is I hear a lot of traders saying things like, well, I'm down 50%, so I need to exit this contract and move into something else, as if that's going to give you a better chance for success. And when you do that, you have to understand the ideas behind this video, and you're going to see just how hard that really is. So let's go find out more about the misunderstood power of and. As always, before we do, please be sure to click like and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated and definitely helps to promote the channel. Okay, so for today, I'm going to offer you a bet. And for this bet, you will have a big advantage for each of three bets. Now, you must win all three. It's a three-step process. You have to win all three, and that's what's going to create the payoff. Now, if the odds are in your favor, which they are, remember you've got a big advantage for each of these three bets, normally you'd have to bet a large amount to make a small amount. So you might have to bet $2 to make $1, or bet 3 to make 1, or 5 to make 2. But you get the idea. The amount you have to bet would have to be more than what you could win. However, I'm going to give you a phenomenal deal, a deal you can't refuse. I'm going to offer you 1-to-1 odds, as if it's just a coin flip, as if both of us have the same chances of winning, even though your chances are much, much higher. So if that's true, you're going to have a long-term advantage. This is going to be an excellent type of bet. At least that's the logic that most traders would use. I have an advantage in each of these three steps, and therefore I have a long-term edge. Well, let's go find out if that's true. What is this bet? I'm going to select a suit from a deck of cards, and let's say diamonds, and we're just going to pull out each of the 13 cards. And the idea of the bet is that you have to avoid the face cards. So in bet number 1, the odds are 10 cards in your favor to 3 cards against you. You have a 10 in 13 chance of being correct. In other words, you have drawn something other than a face card. So it doesn't really matter. Let's just say that you draw the ace. Okay, so far so good. You've avoided a face card. We move to the second round. And what happens now? Well, you have 9 cards that will still keep you in the game compared to 3 that will make you lose. Remember, the idea is to avoid the face cards. So now you have a 9 out of 12 chance of being correct, or odds of 9-3 in your favor. So again, normally you would have to bet 9 to make 3 or bet 3 to make 1. But I'm giving you 1-to-1. So again, the odds are highly in your favor. You can see it right there. 9 ways to win, only 3 ways to lose. So let's say that you draw the 2. And again, so far so good. You've avoided a face card. We move to bet number 3. And so now you have 8 ways to win and 3 ways to lose. So the odds are now 8-3 in your favor. Again, a huge advantage. So once again, the odds that we're charging you for this game are 1-to-1. Even though the odds in this first game are 10-3 in your favor, they're 9-3 in your favor in the second and 8-3 in your favor in the third. You have an overwhelmingly large chance for success to avoid these face cards. So again, the logic would make you think that you're going to easily win this in the long run, especially because it's 1-to-1 odds. So here's a simulation in Excel of 5,000 plays of this game. And how do you think it turned out? Look at that. Basically straight down. How is that possible? How could you have the odds in your favor, overwhelmingly good odds in your favor, at each step and still end up on the losing side? So you have to realize that it's not just about the odds at each step of the way in each of those 3 games. You have to realize there's a subtle distinction here, and that is you must be correct on all 3. And that greatly changes things. You must win the first bet and win the second bet and win the third bet. And so notice the key word here, highlighted in red, and. Whenever we use and in probability, it's going to shrink the overall probabilities. If we use or, they're going to increase. But here we're using and. You must win the first, and you must win the second, and you must win the third. So every time you say the word and, realize that those probabilities are greatly getting chopped. So again, the probability, if you use or, you'll increase the probabilities, but if you use and, you'll decrease the probabilities. So in the game that I offered here, even though you have an edge on each bet, it gets diluted over time because you have to be right on all three. And that's the illusion. People would say, oh, I've got an overwhelmingly large advantage at step 1 and step 2 and step 3, and therefore I've got an overwhelmingly large chance for success. But they forget this word and. So let's see what the probability of winning this bet is. Well, to get through the first round, you have 10 ways. There were 10 cards that are not face cards out of 13. And so that's almost a 77% chance that you're going to win that. Assuming you succeed there, you move to the second bet, and there are 9 ways to win out of a total of 12, or a 75% chance of winning. And if you win that, you move to the third stage, where you have 8 ways to win out of 11, which is about a 73% chance. So what are the chances that you get through all 3? That's really the question. It's not that you have huge odds in your favor on the first round and the second and the third. It's that you have to get through all 3. So if we just multiply these probabilities together, there we go. We take this 0.7692 times 0.75 times 0.7273, and we get, ready for this, about 42%. So this means that you should really have to bet 42 cents to win $1 because the overall odds are actually against you. And what did I charge you? Dollar for dollar. You see, it was actually over 2 times the fair value. And this is a mistake that so many traders make. They'll say, well, I've got a huge edge here because I'm using RSI, or I've got a huge edge with this decision because I'm using MACD, or I have a huge edge because I'm getting out and back into something else. But what they forget is that each of those decisions requires the word and that is greatly going to chop your probabilities down. So think about it here. Even though you had overwhelmingly strong odds in each of the 3 steps, your probability of winning is not even as good as a coin flip. That's a lot of work for nothing. So let's take a different look at it here. Let's flip a coin 3 times. Here are the different possible outcomes. So if I say that the game is you have to get 3 heads in a row, you need to get a head on the first and on the second and on the third. And that's going to greatly chop them down. So you've got a 50% chance of being right here, let's say for the first bet, a 50% chance of being right here, and then a 50% chance of being correct here. So if you take a half times a half, that is a quarter, times a half is an eighth. So the chance that you get that sequence of 3 H's is 1 out of 8. And we can see it. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows, and it's 1 out of the 8. However, what if I said the bet was you could get 3 heads or 3 tails? See, now your probability doubles from 1/8 to 2/8. And that's the difference between them. If you're using the word or, you will amplify the probabilities, but if you use and, you are going to decrease them, and probably very rapidly. So what does this have to do with options trading? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's a lot of different morals we could take from this idea, but the one that I was really thinking of is with switching contracts. I hear this from a lot of people, and they'll say, for instance, I'm down 50% and therefore I have to get out. Well, all right, if that's what you want to do, but think about what's happening. You have to sell your first contract. Let's say you've got a call option, and there is some probability of that being a good decision, because you'd have to admit it's not a 100% guarantee. You could jump to the second contract and it goes down, whereas the stock turns around and ramps up, and you're going to have a huge regret. If it were that you always had a 100% chance of being right, that would be too good to be true. So we have to take this into account. Is that going to be a good decision that you sell your current contract? But now we have to buy another one. Think about the steps. You have to select a new ticker. So you say, I want to leave NVIDIA and go into Tesla. We have to find a ticker. Is that a good decision? Now, just to relax things, we're not saying that it's got to be the best ticker or the absolute best decision. We're just saying you're going to be happy with it because this first one went against you or continued going against you, whereas this one went for you. There's a certain probability for that being, let's call it a good decision. However, it doesn't stop there. If you're trading shares of stock, it does. Remember, stock is one-dimensional, just up or down. But if you're dealing with options, that's not true. We have to say which expiration. And there's a certain probability of a good decision. You might buy a 1-week expiration and it expires worthless, and the next week it takes off. In which case you say, I bought too little time. Or maybe you buy a 4-week expiration and it tanks, and now you put a lot more money into it. So this becomes a tricky thing. Which expiration do you choose? There's a certain probability that's going to be good or something that's going to make it worthwhile to sell your current call and to move to another contract. But then you also have to pick a strike, because you might say if the stock is 100 and I buy the 110 strike, sure, the stock might go up, but if it doesn't move fast enough, I'm still going to lose. So the strike is going to be a big part of the decision. If we buy it in the money, kind of avoid the speed game, then we have a better chance of hitting our break even, but we also have more money in the position. And if it goes against us, it's a bigger loss. So it's this whole idea for options. It's direction, magnitude, and speed. We have to pick the right direction, in other words, the ticker. We have to find the right expiration and the right strike. But people don't think about this. They just go, I'm moving into a different contract. And they don't realize all of the steps where you have to be right. Step number 5, you also have to close this call at some time. So it might go against you, and again, you close it, and it turns around and goes up. You're right back to step 1. But in order to make it a good decision, in other words, that you sold your initial contract, move to a second, and are happy with the decision, you also have to close it. And there's a certain probability of that being a good decision. So now, and there's probably a lot more steps here, but these are certainly 5 that you would have to account for. If we say that there's some probability raised to the 5th, remember it's like we saw with the coin flip, to get heads on the first and heads on the second and heads on the third. We have to multiply them together. So we're saying there's some probability multiplied by itself 5 times, which is that probability raised to the 5th, once for each of these steps. Let's find out where it balances at 50%. What do you suppose that is? The probability of you making a good decision at each of these steps would have to be 87%. And that's just going to get you to 50% overall. So think about that, 87% chance of being right at each of these steps. And in order to make that a successful trade, you're probably going to end up at a 50-50 shot. And so just to check the math here, what if we make it 86%? If we take 0.86 to the 5th, you can see it's 47%. Not even as good as a coin flip. So I hope that helps. And the main thing again is that before you start jumping from contract to contract, thinking you're making things easier, remember the power of and. And for anyone who'd like to learn more about the art and science of options trading, please check out the Alpha Trader course, Strategy Lab, and a Candlesticks and Technical Analysis course. It's all at optionsatoz.com. Also, please join us on Options A to Z's Facebook trading group, and you can find a link in the description below.